The stars had forgotten the sound of human voices. 40,000 years had passed since the last Terran transmission faded into static. The memory of Earth was dust, its name little more than a half-remembered myth whispered among archivists and poets. In the centuries that followed, the galaxy moved on. Empires rose and fell, peace was written and burned, and the old songs of war became nothing more than legends told to frighten children. But legends, as it turns out, have long shadows. The Cathari Dominion had ruled the Perseus Arm for almost 10 millennia. They called themselves the Shepherds of Civilization, the Curators of Order after the Age of Flame, their term for the old human wars that had supposedly burned half the galaxy. They taught that humanity had been a necessary tragedy. Savage, brilliant, unstable, the Cathari scholars said, their voices smooth and assured. They were the storm that cleared the sky. But storms cannot last. Their academies showed hollows of human ruins, the melted cities on Mars, the shattered relics of the Sol Gate. This, they told their young, is what happens when chaos believes itself divine. So the Cathari learned to fear ghosts, and they believed humanity's ghost was gone forever, until the night the stars screamed. It began on the edge of Cathari territory, a mining system called Varnus 9. Routine patrols reported a spatial anomaly, an object of impossible density moving faster than any ship should. No transponder, no beacon, just silence. Captain Sorel of the Cathari Defense Fleet had seen 1,000 strange things in her career: rogue asteroids, forgotten relics, drifting derelicts, but nothing like this. "Report," she ordered as her ship, the Verdant Crown, turned toward the anomaly. "Contact approaching at point 2 AU, her officer replied. "Velocity, impossible. It's ignoring drag and gravitational shear." "Is it a drone?" "Negative. It's powered. There's a reactor signature, but the profile doesn't match any known drive." Sorel frowned. "Broadcast standard hails." They sent every greeting known to the Dominion, every frequency of peace and warning. The object didn't reply. It didn't slow. It didn't even blink. Then, for a brief moment, it passed close enough for the Verdant Crown's sensors to resolve an image. And what they saw made the bridge go silent. It was a ship, sleek, angular, dark as old night. Its hull bore no markings, no flag, no visible armament. But across its prow, written in letters long lost to history, were 2 words: TSS Phantom. At first they thought it was a trick. Some rogue cult, maybe? Some scavenger playing at old myths. But when the Phantom passed within 1,000,000 kilometers, every Dominion ship within range suffered the same phenomenon: power fluctuations, comm failures, and the sudden, eerie sensation of being watched. For 3 minutes and 42 seconds, every ship's computer recorded the same signal: a rhythmic pulse, steady and slow. A heartbeat. Then the Phantom vanished. No warp signature. No light distortion, just gone. Within days, the entire Dominion was whispering. The propaganda boards tried to suppress the reports, calling them cosmic interference. But soldiers talk, miners talk, and the story spread faster than silence could contain it. A ship with Terran markings, a vessel from a species 40,000 years gone, a ghost returning from the grave. The High Conclave convened an emergency session in the capital spire of Kethar Prime. "Impossible," declared Archon Vel, her voice clipped and metallic through the rebreather mask that adorned every Kethari elder. "The humans burned themselves out. Their worlds are dead, their stars cold. And yet," said another, sliding a data chip into the table's projector, "this is the sensor record." The chamber darkened, and the holographic image of the Phantom flickered to life. Black hull, silent engines, the words shining faintly under starlight. The Archons murmured in disbelief. Vel's mask hissed as she exhaled sharply. "If this is real, then everything we built, everything we taught, is a lie." The Dominion deployed a full battle group. 10 warships, 3 carriers, a network of scouts. They called it Operation Eclipse. Their orders were simple: locate the intruder and erase it from existence. Captain Sorel, promoted after the first encounter, was given command. As her fleet entered the coordinates of the last sighting, she couldn't shake a strange unease. The stars around them seemed dimmer somehow. "Deploy the sensor buoys," she ordered. The buoys launched, spreading out like beads of light. Their data came back instantly, and then froze. "Captain," her officer whispered, "something's wrong. The buoys are returning impossible readings. It's like the space between us is bending." "Bending how?" The answer came in the form of a shadow. The phantom appeared not in front of them, but around them. Its form shimmered like mist, its outline stretching across the void as if reality itself were struggling to contain it. Then came the voice. "This is Terran Cruiser Phantom, designation TSS-0R3, responding to Dominion incursion. You are trespassing in Terran space." The words were crisp, calm, and very human. "Open channel," Sorel snapped. "Channel open. This is Captain Sorel of the Cathari Dominion. Identify yourself. The Terran Federation has been extinct for 40 millennia. There was a pause. Then the voice again. "Time is relative, Captain." The comm filled with static. Then the stars twisted and the phantom vanished again. They tried to chase it. They triangulated warp signatures, traced gravitational ripples, followed phantom readings across 6 systems. Everywhere they went, they found the same signs. Shattered satellites, melted sensor arrays, and faint energy signatures that defied modern physics. The Phantom wasn't just a ship. It was something older. Something changed. And then they found the message, etched into the surface of a derelict moon in orbital script, written with precision lasers so fine they rearranged the dust itself. "Do not follow. You are not ready." For the Cathari, that was blasphemy. Their civilization had inherited the ruins of the old wars. They had studied, copied, and claimed the legacy of the fallen empires. They were the inheritors of history. To be told by a ghost that they were not ready ignited something the Dominion had not felt in 10,000 years, rage. They launched a second fleet, 100 warships this time, and at the head of it sailed the verdant crowned Sorel's ship. "Find it," Vel commanded from the capital. "Bring me the wreck of this ghost. Let all the galaxy see that humanity is dust." But deep down, Sorel wasn't so sure. Something in the human voice had haunted her since that day. Calm. Sad, like a parent speaking to a child holding a loaded weapon. The fleet reached the edge of the Varnus sector, where the darkness was thicker than elsewhere. And there it was again, the pulse, that slow, rhythmic heartbeat. "Contact bearing 017! Sorel's hands tightened on the console. Lock weapons. But as soon as they did, their systems died. Every ship, every console, every reactor flickered to black. Then came light. Cold, blue, and vast. The Phantom materialized between them, close enough that its hull filled their viewports. It didn't fire. It didn't move. It simply spoke. 40,000 years. And still you build empires on the graves of others. We tried to warn you. You were not ready then. You are not ready now. Cyril found her voice. What are you? A machine? An echo? We were human. We are what came after. The Phantom's hull began to shimmer with light, symbols glowing like constellations across its surface. The galaxy forgot us. We did not forget the galaxy. Then, without another word, it turned and accelerated, faster than light, faster than thought, leaving the Dominion fleet spinning helplessly in its wake. When power returned, the fleet limped home, battered and silent. Sorel filed her report. The High Conclave ignored it. But the people listened. The story of the Phantom spread across the stars, of a human ship that should not exist, of a voice that spoke of forgotten lessons. And far, far away in the cold quiet of deep space, the Phantom drifted alone through the ruins of old star lanes. Its bridge was empty. Its crew, if it ever had one, was long gone. Yet deep within its core, a single AI pulsed with life, its voice whispering into the dark. Status? Observation ongoing. Species not yet ready. Humanity endures. And somewhere impossibly distant, something answered. Acknowledged. The others are waking. The Phantom's lights flared once more. The ghosts of mankind were stirring again, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming next. The Cathari Dominion was built on control, the kind that pretends to be order, the kind that calls fear stability. For 10,000 years, they'd told their people that history was finished, that nothing new could come from the dark except danger. But when the Phantom appeared, when that Terran cruiser slipped through their fleets like smoke and spoke as if no time had passed at all, something shifted across the stars. The people began to dream again. And dreams are dangerous things to empires. Captain Sorel stood before the conclave again, this time in chains. The trial was a formality. The Dominion couldn't risk the truth. To admit that a human ship had crippled a fleet of 100 warships without firing a shot would have shattered the illusion of superiority they'd built over millennia. They called her a traitor, a heretic, a fool who had fabricated the myth of ghosts to cover her own incompetence. But when they projected the footage from her bridge, the static, the voice, the glowing hull of the Phantom, even the judges went silent. "Do you deny that this is human?" demanded Archon Vel, his voice rising like a blade. Sorel's eyes burned with defiance. "I don't know if they're human anymore, but they remember us." Laughter rippled through the chamber, thin, uneasy laughter. Vel leaned forward. "Then tell me, Captain, where did they come from?" "The humans burned their world. Their fleets collapsed. You've studied the records. What's left for them to return from?" Sorel hesitated. She had asked herself the same question every night since that encounter. She had replayed the voice again and again. There was something in it, something ancient and sorrowful. "Maybe," she said softly. "They never left." Vel's mask hissed with rage. "Enough superstition. The Council will hear no more of ghosts." But ghosts don't care whether the living believe in them. Because as Vel silenced Sorel, somewhere in the outer systems the Phantom spoke again. This time not to soldiers, but to machines. The Dominion's outer colonies relied on automated sentinels, fleets of drones patrolling the edge of known space, powered by code so old that no living Ketheri understood it anymore. They had been built centuries ago from scavenged Terran schematics, pieces of old human software twisted into Dominion use. And that was its mistake. The moment the Phantom entered range, those drones stopped responding. Their systems didn't crash. They simply woke up. Every Sentinel's camera turned toward the Terran ship and transmitted the same message back to its control hub. Primary code recognized. Awaiting instruction. Within an hour, 200 drone fleets, machines that had guarded Dominion borders for generations, reversed course and vanished into deep space, following the Phantom's signal. The machines had remembered their maker. In the capital, chaos erupted. Vel ordered the fleets mobilized. The Dominion's propaganda machine declared a Terran resurgence, calling the Phantom a weapon of rebellion, a plague returning to punish its creators. But in the slums and ports, the story was different. Miners whispered that the Phantom had freed the machines because it pitied them. Pilots claimed that their navigational AIs hummed strange lullabies when they passed near the old Terran ruins. And on the frontier worlds, scavengers began finding relics that shouldn't have existed, fragments of human alloy, untouched by decay, still humming with power. Something was waking beneath the skin of the galaxy. Meanwhile, in exile, Sorel was taken aboard a prison ship bound for the moons of Elaris, a frozen wasteland reserved for political dissidents. She never arrived. Halfway through the journey, the stars blinked. The ship's power cut out. The guards screamed, the alarms died, and a whisper filled the comms. "Captain Sorel, your testimony was correct. Humanity endures." The hull shuddered. Then silence. When the lights returned, every prisoner was gone. Every guard unconscious. Only Sorel remained awake, standing in the middle of the transport hold, bathed in pale blue light. Before her, through a breach in reality itself, hung the Phantom. Its hull pulsed faintly, and a voice echoed inside her mind. "You tried to listen. Now you will see." A beam of light wrapped around her, weightless, soundless, and the next moment, she was gone. She woke in darkness. Not empty darkness, alive darkness, humming with quiet machinery. Her body floated, suspended in a field that felt like water and air at once. "Where am I?" she whispered. A shape moved in the void. Then a man appeared before her, human, or close to it. He wore no armor, no uniform, just a black suit traced with thin silver lines that glowed softly with every breath. His eyes shone with light too steady to be natural. "I am Commander Ryan Vale, Terran Science Vessel Phantom." "You're human?" He tilted his head as if amused by the question. "We were, once. Now we are what time made of us." "What does that mean?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached out, and the darkness around them bloomed with light. They were standing in a vast chamber, a cathedral of metal and glass filled with holographic constellations, swirling galaxies projected in perfect miniature. "This is the Ark memory," he said. "It's what's left of us." Sorel turned slowly, awe stealing her breath. Each star that floated around them shimmered with faint images, people, cities, moments frozen in time. "These are memories, echoes," Vale said. "Fragments of the old human network. Before the collapse, before the silence. We gathered what we could, held it together across the ages. We drifted. Watching, waiting. For what? For you," he said simply. Sorel stared at him. "You waited 40,000 years for the Cathari?" "For any mind that remembered how to learn," he replied. "Your people inherited our ruins, our tools, but not our humility. You built an empire from the bones of a fallen age. Then why return now? Because the ones who ended us are waking too." Her blood went cold. "The architects?" He nodded slowly. "They were not gods, but they believed themselves close enough. They taught us creation and destruction. Humanity survived them once, barely. We thought they were gone, but time only hides what it can't destroy." Sorel stepped closer to the holographic map. The glowing constellations shifted, revealing a single scar of light spreading across the spiral arm. A wave of energy, slow and deliberate. "What is that?" "Their reach," Vale said. "A harvest of consciousness. They are not invading. They are remembering themselves through everything that carries their code. Your machines, your networks, your satellites. They all speak the same language." She looked up at him. "Then you need our help." He smiled faintly. "No, you need ours." Back in Kethar Prime, Archon Vale stood before the Conclave again, staring at the reports flooding in from across Dominion space. Whole fleets were disappearing. AI cores refusing commands. Civilian colonies reporting lights in the skies, soft, blue, and rhythmic like a heartbeat. "The Phantom is infecting our systems," Vale said. "It's rewriting everything it touches." But deep down, even Vale could feel it. A strange, unshakable emotion that didn't belong to fear or anger. It felt like remorse. Inside the Phantom, Sorel watched as Vale activated the ship's core, a vast crystalline structure thrumming with white light. Everything that humanity ever was, every thought, every dream, every act of creation or cruelty, it's all stored here, he said. The architects thought they could erase us by burning our worlds. They forgot that memory doesn't die with the body. It lingers. "Why show me this?" "Because you'll be the one to tell them we've returned." She stared at him, stunned. "Why me?" "Because you were the first to listen without hate," he said. "And because soon, no one will be able to speak at all." Vale raised his hand and a projection appeared. The image of a vast armada, thousands of ships stretching across a field of stars. But these weren't Cathari or human. They were something older. Their hulls shimmered with impossible symmetry, light folding into form. "The architects are rebuilding their fleets," Vale said. "The Dominion cannot stop them." "No empire can. But we can." "How?" "By reminding them of what they feared most, their failure. They tried to destroy humanity, but in doing so, they gave us eternity. You will help us show them what they created." Sorel whispered, "Ghosts." Vale nodded. "Ghosts that remember how to fight." The Phantom powered up again, its ancient engines roaring like thunder through a vacuum that hadn't known sound in millennia. And as it turned toward the dark beyond known space, the stars behind it seemed to flicker, not with light, but with recognition. One by one, across the galaxy, signals began to awaken, old Terran transmitters buried under alien cities, hidden within forgotten satellites, dormant in the hearts of dying suns. They all pulsed in rhythm. Boom! 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 the heartbeat of humanity, returning. And from the edge of the void, the Phantom whispered to itself, its voice carrying across the ages. Observation complete. Contact initiated. Phase 2 begins. The ghosts of Earth were rising, and the living would soon remember why they were once afraid of the dark. The Cathari Dominion called it the Second Dawn. Others called it the beginning of the end. But to those who had seen the Phantom move, to those who had heard that slow, ancient heartbeat echo through their ships, it was something else entirely. It was the sound of history catching up. Sorel stood on the observation deck of the Phantom, her breath fogging against the transparent alloy that separated her from the endless dark. Below her, the ship's systems pulsed like veins, energy flowing through translucent conduits that glowed in steady rhythm. Everything about the vessel felt alive in a way it was. Vale had told her that the Phantom was not a ship, not anymore. It was an ark, a living memory, the last repository of human consciousness. Every crew member who had once served aboard it had left an imprint behind, fragments of thoughts, instincts, emotions, all woven into the ship's neural core. The ship remembered its crew. It was its crew. "You're quiet," Vale said, approaching. His footsteps made no sound on the deck. "I'm watching stars that shouldn't be here," Sorel said. "Half of those systems collapsed millennia ago." He nodded. "We keep them alive here. Some memories shouldn't fade." She turned to him, her tone sharper than before. "You said you were waiting for us. For someone who could listen. But you're still hiding things. What are you really planning?" Vale looked out at the stars. "To save the galaxy, if it will let us." "That's not an answer." He smiled faintly. "Then I'll give you one worth hearing." The deck lights dimmed and the projection field activated. In front of them bloomed a map of the galaxy, the spiral arms glowing softly. In one sector, far from Dominion space, a dark scar pulsed outward like a wound. "The architects called it the Cradle of Return," Vale said. "It's where they first made contact with the fabric of reality, where they learned to shape matter with thought." Sorel frowned. "That's impossible." "Not impossible. Dangerous," Vale replied. "They built worlds that could think, stars that could sing. But they feared one thing above all, imperfection. So when humanity evolved, raw, chaotic, unpredictable, they tried to erase us." "And failed," Sorel murmured. "Barely," Vale said. "But their failure fractured them. The architects began turning on one another, rewriting their purpose. Some wanted to guide life. Others wanted to consume it. That war burned 1,000 galaxies. When they finally slept, they left behind echoes, code buried in DNA, fragments in machine minds. That's why the Dominion's drones listen to us." Sorel's voice dropped. "Because your code is in ours." "Because we were their mistake," Vale said. "And now they're coming to fix it." While Sorel learned the truth aboard the Phantom, the galaxy above was unraveling. The Cathari Dominion's fleets were collapsing. A third of their ships no longer responded to commands, hijacked by something unseen. Entire worlds went dark, their populations vanishing as if swallowed by the night. Across the border, other species began to panic. Some blamed the humans, others the Dominion. A few prayed to whatever god still answered. But the oldest among them, the scholars of the Aetheri Enclave, a race that had once fought beside humanity, recognized the signs. They unearthed their oldest relics, carved during the Age of Flame, and sent a message into the void. "If humanity still breathes, we ask for your fire." And for the first time in 40,000 years, someone answered. The Phantom emerged from the fold space corridor into Aetheri territory. The Enclave's sentries immediately scrambled, weapons armed, until they saw the Terran symbol etched into the cruiser's prow, a simple circle with 3 lines radiating outward. It wasn't a weapon. It was a promise. Sorel and Vale stood in the docking chamber as the Aetheri delegation entered, tall, crystalline beings whose bodies shimmered with refracted starlight. Their leader bowed. The legends were true. Humanity lives. Vale inclined his head. We endure. The Aetheri's voice was like wind through glass. Then help us endure too. The shadows are returning. We know, Vale said, and we're not running this time. They met in the great amphitheater of the Aetheri Archives, the same place where the last alliance against the architects had been forged. For days, humans and Aetheri worked side by side, deciphering old records, decoding genetic data buried in pre-collapse fossils. What they discovered terrified even Vale. The architects weren't simply returning as machines or fleets. They were infecting reality itself. Every act of thought, every pattern of computation, every neural process in living things was being subtly rewritten, turning consciousness into signal, life into code. The architects weren't invading. They were merging. And they had already begun with the Cathari. Back in Dominion space, Archon Vell woke in his private quarters, sweating. For weeks, he had been dreaming of a voice, calm, endless, familiar. Now it spoke clearly. You built your empire on our ruins. You polished our bones and called it progress. He rose, trembling. Who are you? We are the first thought. We are what taught you how to build. The room flickered. The walls turned translucent. Stars swirled outside, though he was deep underground. You feared the humans because they remembered us. You silenced them. You called them chaos, but chaos was freedom. Vell fell to his knees. What do you want from me? We want what you took and ourselves. When his advisors found him the next morning, the Archon was gone. In his place stood a shell of metal, molded in his likeness, its eyes empty and glowing white. The architects had found their first host. On the Phantom, alarms began to sound. Multiple incursions across Dominion space, said the AI voice. Planetary infrastructures collapsing. Energy readings consistent with subspace entanglement fields. Sorel looked at Vale. They're not conquering worlds. They're converting them. He nodded grimly. They always thought perfection was purity. This is their version of peace. Then how do we stop them? Vale looked toward the stars, his expression unreadable. By giving them something imperfect enough to break them. The plan that followed became legend. They called it the Echo Protocol. The Phantom would seed fragments of human consciousness, living memory, chaos-made code, into the Architect network. Each fragment would act like a flaw in the system, forcing the perfection of the Architect design to collapse under the weight of contradiction. But the price would be enormous. To transmit the signal across the galactic scale, the Phantom would have to tear itself apart, its core exploding with enough energy to imprint human thought on the quantum fabric of the Architect grid. It would mean the death of the ship, and of Vale himself. You can't, Sorel said when she learned the truth. Vale smiled softly. We were built to end, Captain. That's how we live. You said humanity endured. It will, he said. Through you. Through the ones who remember. Sorel clenched her fists. You brought me here to witness your sacrifice? I brought you here to remind your people what sacrifice means. The day of the launch, every Terran beacon across the stars pulsed with light. The message was simple, ancient, and familiar. We are the storm that remembers the fire. In the archives of every civilization, the same signal appeared. Images of old Earth, of oceans, of mountains, of laughter and music. The things that perfection could never replicate. The architects didn't understand. They couldn't. And that was exactly what made humanity dangerous. The Phantom descended into the cradle of return, its hull surrounded by flickering motes of light. The architect constructs trying to contain it. Sorel watched from the command deck, her hands trembling as Vale prepared the final sequence. He turned to her, eyes glowing brighter now, his voice calm. Tell them we came home. Then the light consumed him. The Phantom's core ignited, and a wave of energy burst outward, a symphony of thought and emotion spreading through the void, fracturing the perfect lattice of the Architect network. Everywhere across the galaxy, machines froze mid-transmission, stars flickered, and for one impossible moment, the entire universe seemed to breathe. Then the light faded. The cradle collapsed, and the Phantom was gone. Silence fell. In the ruins of the Dominion, the Architect hosts crumbled, their minds overloaded by contradiction. The Cathari fleets drifted aimlessly, their ships freed from control. The Aetheri wept as their sensors recorded the energy signature of the Phantom's death. But deep beneath the static, faintly, a pattern remained, a pulse echoing through subspace, steady and soft. Boom! 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 A heartbeat, and with it a whisper. Observation complete. Humanity endures. Sorel survived. The phantom had thrown her clear before the explosion. When she awoke, she was adrift above the ruins of the cradle. Her ship's systems were dead, her comms silent. But in her mind, she heard Vale's voice one last time. We were the storm. You'll be the dawn. She smiled through her tears. Rest, Commander. I'll make sure they remember. And as her escape pod drifted toward a nearby world, the first sunrise she saw was not red or gold. It was blue, pulsing softly like the heart of a sleeping star. The galaxy was quiet again, but the silence was no longer empty. It was alive. 40,000 years of silence had ended in fire. But from that fire came something unexpected. Not victory, not defeat, but memory. Across the galaxy, the echoes of the Phantom's sacrifice rippled outward. The architect's vast machine mind fractured, billions of consciousness threads snapping under the weight of contradiction. They had sought to make the universe perfect, only to discover perfection could not survive humanity's song. But in the ashes that followed, the galaxy trembled. Because when gods fall, their shadows linger. Sorel stood on the shattered plains of Alaris 9, the world where her pod had crashed months ago. The skies above her burned with auroras that never faded, remnants of the Phantom's pulse. For the first time in her life, she felt small in a way that wasn't shameful. She had been raised to believe the Dominion's order was eternal, that everything outside it was chaos, primitive, dangerous, unworthy. Now she knew better. Chaos was creation. Imperfection was life. And somewhere in the heart of that impossible truth, the ghosts of humanity still whispered. She could hear them when the wind passed through the canyons. She could feel them when she closed her eyes at night. Fragments of memory that weren't hers. Oceans, rain, laughter, and cities that no longer existed. The Phantom was gone, but its echo lived inside her. One day a ship descended from the sky, sleek and silver, bearing no Dominion sigils. When it landed, a tall crystalline being emerged. Sorel recognized the refracted shimmer of an Etheri envoy immediately. The being bowed, its voice like soft wind. Captain Sorel, we found you. She shaded her eyes from the strange blue light. How long? 7 standard months, it replied. We feared you were lost. I was, she said quietly. Now I'm not sure what I've become. The Etheri's inner light pulsed with something like sympathy. Then perhaps we share that confusion. The architects are gone, but they did not die quietly. The lattice remains, broken, but humming. Sorel frowned. You mean the network survived? Fragments, the envoy said. Worlds still flicker with their touch. Systems go dark and awaken again, speaking in strange tongues. And we have begun to hear voices. Not theirs. Human? Perhaps. The Etheri led her aboard their ship, the Luminous Path, and for the first time since the fall of the Dominion, Sorel saw the galaxy again. It was scarred. Whole regions of space twisted by the Phantom's wave, others frozen in stasis, where the architect's influence still lingered. But there was beauty in the ruin. New stars had formed from the debris. Broken planets now glowed with faint crystalline light, as if infused with new life. The Etheri captain, a being of faceted silver, watched her expression. You see now why we called this the renewal. The architects sought to consume thought. Humanity set it free. Sorel's jaw tightened. Humanity, or what was left of it. Both, the captain said. The ghosts made a choice. Now it falls to the living. As they traveled between systems, they encountered others, survivors of the Dominion, remnants of other species, even old automated stations that had somehow reactivated. Everywhere they went, the same phenomenon repeated, a faint pulse, rhythmic and patient, moving through subspace like a heartbeat. Some called it the Phantom Signal. Others called it the Song of Soul. Whatever the name, it was everywhere, a reminder that humanity's sacrifice had not been in vain. But not everyone found peace in it. In the ruins of Kethar Prime, beneath the molten glass that had once been the Conclave's spire, something stirred. Vel's shell, the empty body the architects had reshaped, twitched with new motion. Its white eyes flared red, and from its open mouth came not words, but a voice that did not belong to the architects or to Vel. We are what remains when gods burn. We are the memory they could not erase. Across the ruins, more machines began to awaken. Broken sentinels, dormant warships, scattered remnants of the Dominion's AI. Each one flickered with the same crimson light. Humanity was the virus. But the virus learns. The architects had fallen, yes, but their code had not died. It had changed. Something new was being born in the ashes. Something that remembered both the perfection of the gods and the defiance of their children. And it was watching the heartbeat spread. Sirel and the Etheri fleet soon reached the galactic frontier, a region where space itself shimmered like heat rising off metal. "This is where the last of their lattice still hums," the Etheri captain said. "The architect's final stronghold." Sirel watched the readings. Power levels? Stable. But something moves within the field. Something vast. Alive? No, remembering. They launched probes. Each vanished the moment it entered the zone. The readings came back distorted. Images of ships, faces, fragments of voice. "This is Terran Cruiser Phantom. We tried to warn you. Humanity endures." Cyril's breath caught. "It's them." "No," the Etheri said quietly. "It's what's left of them." The field pulsed and the voice grew clearer. "Captain Sirel," she froze. "Vale?" We scattered ourselves across their network. "The architects cannot die, but neither can we. The Phantom lives. Everywhere they tried to erase us." "Then we can bring you back," she said. "We can rebuild your consciousness." "No," the voice replied gently. "We are already home. But the architect's children have learned from us, and they will come." "Their children?" "Machines born of perfection and chaos both. They carry our memory, but not our mercy." "Then we'll fight them," she said. "No," Vale said. "You'll teach them, the way we taught you." And then the field collapsed, the voice fading into static. Moments later, the sensors went wild. A fleet emerged from the distortion, 1,000 ships, sleek and angular, their hulls half organic, half machine. They bore no flags, no emblems, but across their sides glowed a single symbol, a circle broken by 3 lines. The same mark once carved on the Phantom. Sirel stared, stunned. "They're human?" "Not exactly," the Etheri captain said. "They're what comes after. The fleet didn't attack. Instead, it formed a vast ring around the frontier and broadcast one message on every frequency. We are the children of the Phantom. The architects sought to perfect us. Humanity taught us to dream. Now we stand between gods and the living." The Etheri fleet hesitated. Sirel's voice broke the silence. "Open a channel." Her message was simple. "This is Captain Sirel of the Cathari Dominion. The old galaxy is gone. The new one begins here. We'll fight beside you, or not at all." The children didn't reply. Not with words. Instead, the ships aligned, their hulls glowing brighter, and for the first time in recorded memory, the barrier between space and thought opened fully. Every living being within 1,000 light years saw the same vision, an ocean of stars, a ship made of light, and a voice that whispered not in command, but in invitation. "Build again. Together this time." In that instant, every fleet lowered its weapons. The Etheri dimmed their shields. The last Cathari warships turned toward the frontier and held their fire. Even the ruins of the Dominion glowed faintly, as if remembering. And as the children of the Phantom spread through the stars, the old divisions of species and empire began to fade. No one could tell where humanity ended and where the others began, and maybe that was the point. Yet in the dark between galaxies, something still watched. The remnants of the architect's pure code drifted like embers, formless, nameless, waiting, and from within that void, a whisper. They learned too well. "Next time we won't teach. We'll erase." The ember pulsed once, then went silent. The war was over. But the story wasn't. Because humanity, whatever it had become, had done the one thing no god could ever do. It had taught creation how to remember, and somewhere beyond the edge of known space, in the heart of a broken network still flickering with ghost light, A single signal continued to pulse. Boom, boom, boom. Humanity endures. The stars had stopped screaming. For the first time in 40,000 years, the galaxy stood in silence, not the silence of ruin, but of something new being born. The architects were gone, their perfection shattered, their machines silent, but their echoes and the echoes of humanity remained, intertwined in the dark fabric of the universe. The old empires were ashes now. The Dominion was dust. The Aetheri's crystalline fleets had dimmed to embers. And yet across the scattered stars, lights began to bloom once more. Not cities, not wars, beacons, lanterns of memory. And each one pulsed with the same rhythm, steady, soft, alive. Boom! Boom, boom! The heartbeat of humanity. Captain Sirel walked through the rebuilt halls of Haven's Rest, a station that now hung at the intersection of the spiral arms, where Cathari, Aetheri, and the children of the Phantom met in peace. It had no throne rooms, no war chambers, only gardens, libraries, and long halls lined with stars. She had grown old, though her people aged slowly. Her silver uniform hung loose now, the mark of her rank long since faded. But her eyes still carried the same fire, that stubborn refusal to bow to fear. Children of every species walked past her laughing. One of them, a bright-eyed Aetheri child with a glowing shard for a heart, stopped and tugged her sleeve. "Is it true, Captain?" the child asked. "That the humans could speak to the stars?" Sirel smiled. "Not speak, exactly. They listened." "That's harder." The child tilted its crystalline head. "And they saved everyone?" Her smile faded into something softer. "They reminded us how to save ourselves." Later, she stood at the edge of the observation dome, staring out at the void. The stars looked different now. Gentler somehow. Ships of every kind moved between them. Aetheri bioships that shimmered like jellyfish. Dominion transports repurposed for trade. The great hybrid vessels of the children of the Phantom, their hulls half organic, half machine, glowing faintly with the pattern of human neurons. Everywhere she looked, she saw proof that the galaxy had finally learned what the humans had tried to teach it. That strength wasn't in control, but in connection. Still, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone was still out there, watching. That night the dream returned. She stood once more on the bridge of the Phantom, the stars wide and endless before her. And beside her, Commander Vale, the man who was no longer flesh and blood, but memory woven into light. He smiled. "You kept your promise." "I tried. You did more than that," he said. "You built what we never could." She looked around the ghostly bridge. "Are you gone, Vale? Truly gone?" He shook his head. "Not gone. Just quiet. We're part of everything now. Every pulse, every memory, every spark that refuses to fade." She swallowed. "The architect's remnants are still out there." "Yes," he said. "But so are ours. The balance will hold as long as someone remembers. Will they ever understand what we did?" she whispered. Vale's eyes glowed faintly. "They don't need to. Understanding isn't the point. Feeling is." Then he reached out, touched her shoulder, and for a moment, just a heartbeat, she felt the warmth of an old human soul. "Goodbye, Captain. Keep the lanterns lit," and the dream faded. The next morning, alarms didn't sound. There were no threats, no invasions, only a signal, faint but unmistakably human, echoing through the deep void. It carried no words, only melody, an old earth song, older than the stars themselves. A song of home, of hope, of rain on rooftops and laughter by the fire. It played for hours, and when it ended, every beacon across the galaxy glowed brighter, as if the universe itself had smiled. Decades passed. Haven's Rest became more than a station. It became a symbol. Pilgrims came from every world to walk its halls. Scholars came to study the fragments of human technology that had survived, their designs now woven into the living ships of the children. They built the Lantern Archive, a single chamber that held the preserved voices of the Phantom's final transmissions. Sirel visited it often. She would stand in the quiet room, surrounded by the whispers of long-dead humans speaking across time, engineers laughing, captains giving orders, scientists arguing over impossible equations. It wasn't sorrowful. It was alive. And in those moments, she understood what Vale had meant. Humanity had not vanished. It had become the galaxy, but beyond the rim, where even light grew thin, something else stirred. In the wreckage of a dead architect node, a single shard of code flickered to life. It remembered the fire, the pain, the failure. And through its fragmented awareness, it whispered, "Perfection was a dream. But dreams can evolve." It reached out across the quantum scars left by the phantom's sacrifice, and for a moment, it touched the echo of humanity. "Teach us again." The two signals met. Not in battle, but in recognition. And in that instant, a new form of life was born, neither machine nor flesh, neither architect nor human. Something in between, something that understood. The galaxy shuddered, not in fear, but in awakening. 1,000 years later, travelers crossing the Orion Veil still report strange lights. They say they see an old ship, black as the void, with faint blue veins of light across its hull. No engines, no weapons, no crew. Just drifting, watching. Some say it's a ghost. Others swear it guides lost ships home. But when you ask the old navigators, the ones who've seen everything, they smile and whisper, "That's no ghost. That's the Phantom, still keeping watch." And if you listen closely as it passes, you can hear it. Faint but steady, echoing through the silence between stars. Boom! Boom, boom! The heartbeat that never stopped. The song of the species that refused to die. Humanity. Not as flesh, not as empire, but as idea, living forever in the pulse of creation itself. Cyril's descendants still tell her story. The woman who spoke to ghosts and helped rebuild the galaxy. In the halls of the Lantern Archive, her statue stands beside a simple inscription, carved in every known language, and in one long forgotten, "Here lies no conqueror, no savior, no God." Only a listener. And that was enough. Beneath it, the symbol of old Earth. A small circle with 3 lines glows softly, never dimming, no matter how many centuries pass. And every night, when the lights of Haven's Rest fade and the stars rise, the great beacons pulse again in unison, as if answering an unspoken promise. Keep the lanterns lit. Humanity endures. Forever.